touchy subject I want to speak on today, but it's one that shouldn't be avoided. And as Christians, we're called to speak on this because this is one of the most important issues, and that's the issue of lives being taken. In the Old Testament, God was constantly having to rebuke and having to discipline people of Israel and many other nations for sacrificing their children. They used to sacrifice their children to Moloch and Baal, and these were two different gods that they would worship, and they would do it for different reasons. Sometimes they would do it out of defeat, and I can relate this to a reason why women now sacrifice their child, women and men, because they have a part in it too. And also the doctors who perform these murders are also a part of it. But a lot of times an army or a nation would go through a defeat, and out of more of, I would say, anger more than anything, they would sacrifice their children after this. This reminds me of when women claim that the reason that they're aborting their child is because of rape. And I sympathize with anybody that has to go through this. But the truth is, if someone is raped, which is not a high amount of the cases of abortion at all, but if a woman is raped, then there's nothing to take back her from her being a victim. She's a victim, and that's it. That doesn't make it okay to make another victim. The child is not guilty of any kind of sin at all at that point. He hasn't done anything wrong. The child didn't rape you, and the child also has a piece of you too. So we have to remember the child is not all the perpetrator. The child is also a piece of you. So maybe you're having anger, maybe you feel angry about it, but killing a child is not going to make you not a victim. It's not going to end the pain of what that man caused. The man needs to be punished. And the Bible even tells us that he should be punished by death. And, I don't see anything wrong with that. But the child itself should be punished. Another thing that men and women would sacrifice their child, they would sacrifice their child to Moloch. And Moloch was a big bronze figure with the head of a bull. And the bronze figure would be heated up. They made hands that would come out, and under the hands would be a large fire to keep it hot. And they would place their child on these bronze hands to burn. And they would be killed by the flames, either from the flames or falling off into the flames, or they would be sizzled and cooked. And while the child was being tortured and screaming, they would pound drums very loud so you wouldn't be able to hear the screams. But another reason they would do this was for crops and for rain, because they were having droughts. So in other words, they would sacrifice their children for wealth, or they would sacrifice their children for more money. And this is the exact same reason why the majority of people have their child aborted, because they want a more successful life. They want more money. They feel like a child is going to hold them back from accomplishing more. So this is the same thing. It's just a more sophisticated way of doing it, but it's the same thing as murder. Doing abortions, they reach inside of women and they rip the arms and legs off of children and crush the head and then suck it out with a vacuum. And as bad as it sounds, as when I explain the sacrifice of Baal, it doesn't sound much better when I hear what's happening to the babies today in the womb. There's only a difference of 6 inches of distance from the child being outside of the womb and inside of the womb. The child's brain is already working, the heart's already beating, and babies can already even suck their thumb. And they also react to pain. Whenever doctors are reaching in to rip off the limbs of the baby, they jump and try to get away from the pain. They can feel it, you know. And it's a sad thing that these children are being destroyed in this way. And I guess because we can't see it and we can't hear the cries and we can't feel the pain, it's okay with us. And we just take, brush it aside. But it's something we should really think about because God takes it very serious. There's some things in the Old Testament that still apply to us, and these are the moral laws. And these moral laws are everlasting. In Leviticus 20:1, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Say to the people of Israel, any one of the people of Israel or of the strangers who are sojourning in Israel who gives any of his children to Moloch shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. I myself will set my face against that man and will cut him off from among his people, because he has given one of his children to Moloch to make my sanctuary unclean and to profane my holy name. And if the people of their land do at all close their eyes to a man that gives one of his children to Moloch and do not put him to death, then I will set my face against that man and his clan and will cut them off from among their people, him and all who follow him in whoring after Moloch." As we see here that God says, and if the people of that land close their eyes to the man who gives one of his children to Moloch and did not put him to death, I will set my face against that man and his clan. So we're told not to close our eyes to this. We're told to speak out against this, and really we're told to even put them to death, because murder is life for life. And we have seared our consciences. Whenever you sear meat, you make it hard at one point. You put the fire to it and you sear it to where it's tough. And this is what we do with our conscience. This is what we do with our hearts. The first time you might do something, you'll have this reaction like you feel it's wrong. Like I remember the first time I had smoked weed. I remember the first time I smoked weed, it felt bad to me. It felt wrong. But the more I did it, it didn't feel wrong anymore because I had seared my conscience. The first time I stole something from a store, it felt wrong. It felt, I was more scared. I felt like I did something wrong. But the more and more I did it, the more my conscience was seared, and I stopped feeling bad about it. And this is what we've done. We've seen so many abortions taking place, and we've seen so many people speaking up for it, and we've seen so many celebrities saying it's okay, and all these people. So our conscience and our hearts have been seared, and we think it's okay to murder children. And this is the sickest thing that could be going on, and that's it, plain and simple. Once the egg and the sperm meet, that is a completely new life form that has been made, and God already knows that person. Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest out the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. God says there, I formed thee in the belly, and I knew you before you came out. Knew you. People say these words zygote, and they say say words like this, and they say fetus. But guess what? These are just different stages of human life. Guess what? There's some more stages of human life that shouldn't be killed. The infant stage, that's another stage. It's still human. The teenage stage, that's still human. The adult stage, preteen, these are all just different stages. And that's the same thing a zygote is, and that's the same thing a fetus is. It's nothing but a different stage of human life. Taking the life of a human at any stage is murder. Something to think about.
Do take good care of yourself.